Islam, you know you have a crazy, dangerous opponent with Arman Tsarukyan, so sorry to talk about something else, but one guy that keeps talking about you also is Ilia Topuria. Do you have a message for him? He really wants to fight you next year.
No, man. I'm tired to give chance the small guys, you know.
He say he wants to go up, and I respect and I support his decision. And now it's up to UFC. They either give him Islam. I think they should give Islam.
UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev has boldly declared that Ilia Topuria will not be getting a shot at his title. Despite Topuria's rising star power and his dominance in the featherweight division, Makhachev has dismissed any possibility of granting him a fight at 155 pounds.
I need my second belt, you know. It's nothing excited. He's a good fighter, he's a good skills fighter, but I don't want to give him chance, you know. I need second belt. They fight for what? For me, it's nothing. Just his name. I don't need his name. I need the belt.
Moreover, UFC President Dana White has finally addressed the rumors that Ilia Topuria fighting Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title is still a possibility.
I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, you had a big week at the UFC. Some crazy stuff went down. With Ilia moving up to lightweight, vacating the title. You weren't able to announce it then, but is it safe to say that Ilia Islam is the fight that we're sort of working towards, or could he be fighting?
There's still other possibilities, so there's a lot of going on right now.
Meanwhile, Merab Dvalishvili has shared his thoughts on Ilia Topuria's future, expressing his full support for his fellow Georgian fighter. He acknowledged Topuria's desire to move up to lightweight and challenge for big fights, whether it's against Islam Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, or Dustin Poirier.
Ilia Topuria, would you prefer him stay at featherweight, or would you like to see him go up?
Ilia, he's my good friend, and I have so much respect for him. And he say he wants to go up, and I respect and I support his decision. And now it's up to UFC. They either give him Islam. I think they should give Islam. But if not Islam, either it's Oliveira or Dustin Poirier.
Merab Dvalishvili continues to show strong support for his close friend Ilia Topuria, regardless of whether he stays at featherweight or moves up to lightweight to challenge the division's top contenders. Merab emphasized that he respects Topuria's ambitions and will back him no matter what decision he makes.
So Ilia either wants to fight champion or super fights. That's up to him. And I will just support him, wherever he go, whatever he will do. You know, and he's such a great guy and such a great champ.
Meanwhile, renowned MMA analyst and former fighter Chael Sonnen refuses to believe that UFC champion Islam Makhachev is avoiding Ilia Topuria. Makhachev previously said he wasn't interested in defending his lightweight title against another featherweight in Topuria, who is vacating his belt for a move up to 155 pounds.
In Ilia Topuria, for the eighth time, talked about, called out Islam Makhachev. What is that about, guys?
Sonnen says it isn't fair to put him in that predicament again. He said, "My first sense is that's fake news, and it's a real insult to Islam. I don't believe that Islam's scared to fight anybody. I think the evidence of that fact would be the fact that he switched opponents and took on Money Moicano with no training camp, no preparation, just because it's the right thing to do, and made sure that the golden rule was followed, which is that the show must go forward." Chael Sonnen recently weighed in on Islam Makhachev's approach to matchmaking, stating that Islam doesn't call out opponents, he just fights whoever the UFC puts in front of him. Sonnen stated that unlike some fighters who actively seek big money fights or specific opponents, Makhachev follows the traditional path of a champion, accepting any challenger the UFC deems worthy.
Islam doesn't call out anybody. He just doesn't. He doesn't believe in that. He doesn't believe in that we're here for the money. He believes, we're not here for the attention. He doesn't believe that. He is an athlete. He is here to compete, and he is here to win. Such a refreshing mindset. You're gonna miss Khabib and his team when they're gone. But at any rate, so there's nothing unusual about Islam not responding to the call out. There's nothing unusual about Islam not stirring the pot trying to get the call out.
Chael Sonnen believes that Dana White is unlikely to do anything special when it comes to Ilia Topuria moving up to challenge Islam Makhachev for the lightweight title. He pointed out that while Topuria is a rising star and an exciting fighter, the UFC typically doesn't grant immediate title shots to fighters moving up a division unless they are already dominant champions with multiple defenses.
Dana made a comment 4 days ago on Islam, and he said we have something really special for Islam's next fight. None of us know what that means. I cannot begin to believe that something really special for Islam's fight is that he got to fight a 45-pounder. I can't imagine that.
Sonnen also defends Islam's willingness to fight anyone, citing how he accepted a short-notice fight against Renato Moicano without a training camp just to keep the event going.
Ilia Topuria is a star. That's true. Islam Makhachev is a star. That is now true. Islam Makhachev, up until 3 weeks ago, had never headlined a pay-per-view, and he shouldn't have. And please don't tell me that the night he fought Dustin that you really think that he was top of the bill.
Sonnen, addressing the rumors surrounding Islam Makhachev's next opponent. Sonnen outright dismisses the speculation that Islam will face another 145-pound fighter, calling it unfair. He further added, "I don't believe it to be any more than a rumor. I also think it's a little bit insulting to be the one to have to ask Islam, will you fight a 45, considering that would make the third 45-pounder that Islam was forced to face. And the only thing Islam has ever told us is that he himself would like to change weights. So if he himself is not allowed to do the one thing that they're asking him to do 3 times over, I'm light on that. I don't think it will happen." Moreover, Chael Sonnen has expressed concerns regarding the UFC's plans for lightweight champion Islam Makhachev's next opponent. He has criticized the notion that Makhachev might be avoiding a fight with featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, labeling such suggestions as a real insult and defending Makhachev's willingness to face any challenger.
That wouldn't be special to Islam. That would be a super fight. It wouldn't be special to Islam. He's already fought a 45-pounder. He's already fought a 45-pounder as a world champion. He already fought a 45-pounder. There was a world champion and the reigning #1 pound for pound. Like, there would be nothing special about that for him. But meanwhile, we don't have anything else going on for him. And I mean, we have nothing going on for him.
Additionally, Sonnen has advocated for Arman Tsarukyan to be considered as Makhachev's next opponent, despite Tsarukyan's recent withdrawal from UFC 311 due to injury. This stance contrasts with UFC President Dana White's opinion that Tsarukyan should work his way back up to title contention. Daniel Cormier, a longtime training partner of Makhachev, agrees with Sonnen. Cormier said, "Fighting Alexander Volkanovski, who at the time was #1 pound for pound. Whoever wins will be considered the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world because Islam is #2. Alex was 1. Islam beats him, but it was very close. And then we had this weird moment where Alex and Islam were 1 pound for pound. For a while, it was like 2 numbers. 1S and Islam was like, wait, give me what you said I was going to get. And then the world said, why do you want that? You beat a 45-pounder. Moreover, English former mixed martial artist Michael Bisping thinks Ilia Topuria will get his wish to fight UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev. Although Makhachev doesn't like the idea of fighting another featherweight, Bisping thinks it would be silly for the UFC to risk jeopardizing a big fight between Makhachev and Topuria. Justin Gaethje called for a title shot after beating Rafael Fiziev Saturday at UFC 313, and Arman Tsarukyan and Charles Oliveira are eager for their rematch with Makhachev. If Topuria ends up in a #1 contender bout instead, Bisping sees that as a risky move by the UFC. Bisping said on his YouTube channel, "Realistically, there's a ton of options for Ilia Topuria, but the reality is, Islam Makhachev has got to fight somebody soon, and so does Ilia Topuria. Justin Gaethje wants to fight for the belt, but Justin Gaethje really doesn't give a right now. I think Justin Gaethje is happy making the phenomenal amount of money that he is, and just going out there and being able to be himself." Bisping sees Makhachev versus Topuria as one of the biggest fights the UFC could make. Bisping said, "Granted, Ilia is special, but if he lost to them, there's a massive market opportunity lost there. Because Ilia versus Islam, Ilia with the rise, Ilia still being in a lot of people's minds the featherweight champion against the lightweight champion. There's something there if he loses to Gaethje, but then 2 or 3 fights later gets a shot, it's not quite the same sell. Furthermore, Mexican-American coach Javier Mendez isn't sure if Ilia Topuria has earned the right to challenge UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev. Topuria vacated his featherweight title for a move up to 155 pounds and wants to challenge Makhachev for the lightweight title. While the UFC didn't announce what's next for Topuria yet, Mendez would rather Makhachev's next title defense not come against another 145-pounder. 2 of Makhachev's 4 title defenses came against ex-UFC featherweight champ Alexander Volkanovski. Mendez told Submission Radio, of course he's cutting the line, but hey, if the fans, if that's what they want to see and that's what the UFC wants to see, then that's basically, he is cutting the line. But it's not a true sport in a sport like this, which is not a true sport, it's entertainment first. So if more eyeballs are going to pay attention to Topuria, then obviously that's what the UFC is going to want. Makhachev's manager wants to see Topuria earn the title shot by fighting a top-ranked lightweight first. If Topuria ends up facing someone like Dustin Poirier, Mendez likes his chances. Mendez said of Topuria beating Poirier, "Yeah, I definitely do. I've said it on many occasions. I think he has the best boxing in the whole UFC, all the weight divisions. I believe his boxing is the crispest out of everybody. He's got great wrestling, his mentality is strong, he's undefeated. I favor him. Slightly, but I favor him." The undefeated Topuria will leave the featherweight title after a banner 2024 year in which he won the belt by knocking out Volkanovski at UFC 298 and then recorded his first title defense by knocking out Max Holloway at UFC 308. Topuria, who recently took aim at current lightweight champion Islam Makhachev, stated his confidence in the result of a potential matchup. Topuria said, "I really believe that I can beat the current champion, Islam. I really think that. He's a great champion. You can't be a world champion by chance. You have to do great things. He's a beast. I don't like to be a bully and fight with people that I know 100% that I'm going to whoop his you know? Topuria understands that the best fights are those where the outcome is uncertain, where the challenge is real, and where the audience is fully invested." He further added, "I like to fight with people that the fans think that it's gonna be very competitive. That kind of expectation I like to create. With Islam, I'm gonna have that. Doing the rematch with people that I already fought, I don't think that I'm gonna have the same kind of expectations, you know, for the fans." Alexander Volkanovski has no issues with Ilia Topuria getting an immediate UFC lightweight title shot. Topuria vacated his featherweight championship after back-to-back knockouts of Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Volkanovski was awaiting his rematch with Topuria, but those plans were derailed after El Matador moved divisions. But because Topuria won't be holding up any divisions, Volkanovski approves of the idea of him getting a shot at UFC lightweight champion Islam Makhachev right off the bat. Volkanovski said in an interview, "Put it this way, if he was trying to hang on to both belts, I don't think that was gonna happen. The fact that he's vacated and the lightweight division in a position where, I don't know, there's no real clear number one, I think it's fair." Volkanovski also shared his thoughts on Topuria's decision to vacate the featherweight title talks and commit fully to the lightweight division. He believes that Topuria made the right call by not holding up another weight class. He further added, "The fact that he vacated, I think that that's fair. If he wanted to hang on and do the double champ thing, I think he needed to do more work. But the fact that he's like, look, I'm gonna let this one go. Let that division move on. I want to commit to lightweight. I think that's big. I think that's fair. So I think he sort of deserves it." With Topuria relinquishing his featherweight title, Volkanovski will take on Diego Lopez for the vacant belt in the UFC 314 main event on April 12th at Kaseya Center from Miami. If Topuria does end up getting the Makhachev fight, Volkanovski won't entirely rule out his chances. The former champion suffered knockout losses to both Topuria and Makhachev, but had a hard time seeing Makhachev lose. Volkanovski said, "How do I think that fight's going to go? I have fought both of them. Islam is going to be a hard man to beat for anyone. The only person that I believe will give me that close fight is Islam, and I feel the same for Islam with a lot of opposition. I think everyone has a puncher's chance, and I think that's the only way I see him really losing someone catching him. And if anyone can do it, it is Ilia. Former Bellator lightweight champion Michael Chandler says he could make a case for any of the 3 fighters to get the next title shot at 155 pounds, especially former foe Charles Oliveira, who he spent 25 minutes in the octagon with last November at Madison Square Garden. Chandler knows all about Gaethje as well, giving the fans at MSG and those watching around the world another war back in 2021. Like Oliveira in the rematch, Gaethje defeated Chandler by unanimous decision at UFC 268. Chandler said of the former champion, "With that being said, maybe the biggest fight that you could make is Ilia Topuria, so it's a very tough decision for the UFC. It's a tough decision for Islam, and it's a tough spot for the one of the guy who doesn't get tapped and chosen for that fight. My gut says it's probably gonna be Topuria, because it's the biggest fight that can be made at this time, and it's unfortunate for Gaethje, and it's unfortunate for Oliveira." Makhachev has had 4 title defenses so far, and 3 of those wins have come against former as current featherweights. The reason why he and his team doesn't want to fight Topuria is partly because Topuria was in the featherweight division throughout, and beating the Georgian would just mean another win over a featherweight fighter, which could lead people to question the legitimacy of his title defenses. Makhachev and his team also want Topuria to first fight other contenders in the lightweight division before he gets a title shot. Topuria is not just any featherweight fighter, and he has the size, fighting skills is undisputed so far, and the best option for Makhachev right now. Also, nobody in the lightweight division really wants to face Topuria, and neither is the Georgian interested in fighting other contenders for now. Not to mention that Topuria has finished 6 of his 8 UFC fights so far, so it is for the best if Makhachev accepts the fight against him, but of course, we the fans can't always get what we want. Islam has not agreed to this fight. He maintains the position that Topuria needs to earn a title shot at 155. Per Makhachev's team. In Renato Moicano and Gilbert Burns' podcast Show Me the Money, the two weighed in on if Makhachev should fight Topuria next. Moicano started first and said, "I don't know personally what they're going to do, because in my opinion, Islam has 1 or 2 defenses on the lightweight and I think he wants to go up. But he cannot fight Belal Muhammad and I don't know the reasons. I think he wants to, but Khabib Nurmagomedov doesn't want to fight because they are like brothers. I don't know. I think Islam is just waiting to see if Belal loses to Jack Della Maddalena. As of now, Islam Makhachev is not scheduled to fight Ilia Topuria. Makhachev remains focused on defending his lightweight title, while Topuria has his own legacy to build in the featherweight division. But in the fight game, nothing is ever off the table. Should Makhachev consider moving up to welterweight for a new challenge? Will Ilia Topuria defend his featherweight title against Max Holloway or another top contender? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on the biggest fights and latest MMA news.